In our first story, the legal team for former President John Mahama is considering an application for a review of yesterday's Supreme Court's decision, which dismissed their petition to have the results of the 2020 election annulled. Speaking hours after the court gave its verdict, Mr. Mahama said although he is bound by the verdict of the Supreme Court, he disagrees with its processes and subsequent ruling. He also criticized Electoral Commission Chairperson Jean Mentor for refusing to testify.
But no one who followed the proceedings of the Supreme Court will be surprised with the judgments pronounced a few hours ago. Much as I'm aware that we are legally bound by the decision of the highest court of the land, the Supreme Court of Ghana, I disagree with the process of the trial and the ruling of the court. Ghanaians were hoping to hear her testify, and many are still baffled by the refusal of Mrs. Jean Mentor to be held to account by testifying in this case, unfortunately with the unanimous agreement of the justices of the Supreme Court. The vital part of the process to establish the truth and hold Mrs. Mentor accountable was blocked time and again by a protective cordon and firewall that I'm sure has confounded many Ghanaians. The refusal of this chairperson is in sharp contrast to the readiness with which Dr. Kwadwo Afarijan, then chairman of the Electoral Commission, willingly testified in the 2013 election petition filed by then candidate Nana Akufo-Addo of the MPP. Speaking as a Ghanaian with no legal training, I believe that the refusal of the Electoral Commission chairperson to testify in this election petition leaves a very bad precedent for the future.
Mr. Mahama says the deliberate exclusion, in his words, of Saul constituents from the parliamentary election constitutes gerrymandering and the gravest abuse of power that influenced the outcome of the elections.
My brothers and sisters, we cannot forget the burning issue of the deliberate exclusion of the good people of Central Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi Sal from the parliamentary elections of 2020. This constitutes perhaps the gravest injustice of the 2020 elections, perhaps even greater than the election petition. It can easily fit into the worst forms of electoral trickery ever witnessed in our nation's history. Despite the shenanigans employed by the conspirators in this issue, it is abundantly clear that the rights of the people of Sal to vote was intentionally violated as part of a move to ensure the predetermined election outcome of a particular parliamentary constituency. This represents unparalleled abuse of power by both the government and its handmaiden, the Electoral Commission, to influence the outcome of the parliamentary election in that constituency. It is even more staggering that no one has stepped forward to take responsibility for this unjustifiable action, nor indicated any clear remedy for the harm that has been caused the good people of Sal. We cannot, as a people, countenance this kind of gerrymandering and chicanery in our politics. We must with one accord demand immediate resolution of the impasse in the Sal area and take urgent steps to afford the people their right to vote and be represented in Ghana's parliament. Indeed, this commission has absolutely no reason to continue to remain in office. This is because the Electoral Commission must remain a neutral arbiter and organizer of elections. The Electoral Commission must not have a vested interest in the dubious victory of one party over another.
Now, speaking to a JoyNews reporter this morning, spokesperson for Mr. Mahama's legal team, Baba Jamal, said a review of the decision is still an option for them.
This issue has just started because it's going to generate more and more debate and discussions in the system.
So in terms of party unity and going forward, what is the next move for the NDC?
That is what he said yesterday, that all party members should put ourselves together. We have more elections to go on ahead in the country. This is not the only last election. There will be more elections to come. So we shouldn't be disappointed and discouraged by what has happened. We believe that going into the future, we will have to be more vigilant. We will have to be more studious. We will now have come to a point where you need to ensure that the right things are done at the polling stations before it goes beyond that. Because if you allow yourself to be cheated beyond that, finding justice may be difficult for you. And that is why we're now encouraging our people to be more vigilant. I think that this election or this Supreme Court ruling will give us a lot of food for thought, a lot of things that we will ensure we will change in our course of our preparation towards any election going forward. Once we don't agree with the ruling, then there's the possibility of going for a review. But that decision has not been taken, and when it is taken, we'll let you know.
Now, Member of Parliament for Sekondi, Andrew Ejapamensah, says John Mahama's petition was only an attempt to invite the apex courts to perpetrate fraud on the electorate, since the petition was without merit.
You've been here with us. In fact, we spoke yesterday, and you know that today was the judgment day of the 2013 elections petition, and consistent with the color that is associated with victory, which obviously is white, post the decision of the Supreme Court, because at the time that the judgment was being delivered, I was home. I watched the entire proceedings from the very beginning of where council announced themselves, indeed where parties announced themselves, through council, through to the decision being rendered by the president of the court. And I think that it is a well-deserved victory. Of course, I was not surprised in the least about the decision that the Supreme Court delivered, not because I knew as a matter of fact what the court was going to say, but clearly having read the petition, having read the responses, having some knowledge of the law and what transpired during the proceedings, I was clear in my mind. Of course, I mentioned to you yesterday that the elections petition as presented by Mr. Mahama and the NDC, if you like, had no merit whatsoever, and that to the extent that the crux of their case was to say that because the Electoral Commissioner in her announcement used the total votes cast figure as opposed to the total valid votes cast, which is what the Constitution requires for purposes of declaring the outcome of an election, to suggest to the court that by reason of the fact only that the Electoral Commissioner made that error, that should be held against the will of the people as indicative in the total valid vote cast, and on that basis make a declaration that nobody won 50% of the votes that were cast in the 2020 general election. For me, to be charitable was to invite the court to perpetrate a fraud on the people of Ghana.
Was an attempt to invite
Absolutely, yes.
To perpetrate a fraud.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
On the election.
Because you listened to the cross-examination of the General Secretary of the NDC. He himself admitted that it would be wrong for anybody to use the total vote cast figure as basis for a declaration. And so to ask the court to use that figure as basis for declaring that nobody won the election. Without due respect.
So you think
I've often cited a simple example. Look, when you use millions, then you get to confuse a lot of people. But if you reduce the numbers to bare simple figures of hundreds and thousands, then you begin to appreciate what it is that the NDC sought to get the Supreme Court to do. So I was not surprised at all that the petition was dismissed as being without merit.
Let's stay in Parliament because some members of the minority group in the House are unhappy with allegations of bribery and betrayal leveled against them by some party officials and supporters. The claims follow the approval of 3 ministerial nominees, including the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Mavis Hawakumsin, in a secret vote. Communications officer of the NDC, Sami Jemfi, in a Facebook post said the leadership of the minority chose to satisfy their own selfish interest over the interest of the party. But MP for Tamale Central, Mutala Mohammed, disagrees.
I can understand the frustration. To tell you the truth, if I wasn't a member of parliament, I was just an ordinary NDC member, I would have expressed same rage. But what we need to do is to be patient with them. I do know that some of our friends are so also frustrated that they have been attacked unjustifiably. I never voted any of them.
But were you shocked to realize that some of your colleagues voted in favor?
I was disappointed. I never voted any of them. And if they bring them 1,000,000 times, I'm not going to vote them. I don't have anything personal against them. But I think that they are each unfit to be ministers of state. Some of them lied under oath. So I can understand the pain, the anger of our rank and file. If they didn't love the NDC, I don't think they would be worried. They loved the NDC. Some suffered for the NDC. We are members of parliament. I was scandalized that some of them got more votes than the number of MPs that the NPP has.
Commission obtained 60%.
24 of our members voted for Howard Commission. Right. It's absolutely preposterous. And I find it extremely difficult to comprehend.
So you have betrayed the party. Is that what it is?
Well, if we failed to do what the rank and file of the party expected us to do, we should not be run away from blame. So what we just need to do to let them understand there are several opportunities. Because I believe that when we in the elections of the speaker, we were hailed, we were praised. The rank and file praised us. So when we do something that they are not satisfied and they are condemning us, we need to take it in good faith.
And they are asking for a total overhaul of the leadership of the minority.
I think that is far-fetched, and I don't know what blame.
And even Sami Jemfi made that point.
Yes, that is where I disagree with him. I don't know the basis on which anybody will be demanding a total overhaul of leadership. Because one, the leadership, how many are they? 24 members of our side voted for Howard Commission. 24. About 8 members voted for Kujopon Nkrumah. And about 5, I think, or 4 voted for the Minister for Agri designate. Now, if you are blaming the leadership, how about the other members who voted for these individuals? How about them? I think that all of us should take the blame collectively that we have disappointed the grassroots, the rank and file of the party. They expected so much from us. But one thing I can assure the rank and file of our party, that yes, we have several opportunities to demonstrate our independence. And I don't have any reason to doubt the integrity of the leadership and the members. Perhaps certain things influence the decisions people take. And that is where my disappointment is. But I really don't think that it is enough ground to say that let's change the leadership. It was the same leadership that indeed encouraged and energized us to come out to defend the Constitution, defend the rules governing the conduct of business in this house, for which reason we have a Speaker of Parliament who is a member of the NDC.
But would you say that the statement from Sami Jemfi, the National Executive, was justified?
No, I don't think that it is justified. There are some aspects of it. The justification I'll give to it is his frustration. And we're all equally frustrated. And if you have a National Executive, I believe that there will be so much pressure on him.
Meanwhile, the member says they have begun receiving threats and attacks from their party supporters.
The painful aspect of it is that we are all being blamed. And I know in the heart of my heart, I never voted them. I know in the heart of my heart that no one will dare attempt to even come to bribe me to do something that I wouldn't want to do. But we are all blamed, and we need to accept the blame. I think that this idea...
But you take some bribe, some of your colleagues did take bribe, because it's also a rumor.
Well, I doubt. I don't know. Nobody can bribe me. I mean, everybody, those who know me very well in our politics, you can't even attempt to bribe me, because if you come, I will expose you. I will expose you. If anybody attempts to do that, I will expose you. I have been talking to people. Some will call and tell you that God will punish you people. You know, you just have to listen. and let them understand that they need to.
You have received?
Oh, not personally. I have received a lot of attacks. Maybe perhaps to a very large extent, maybe my conscience believed that I wouldn't do such a thing. But I have had people who call and express their anger, particularly a lot of the platforms. We just need to exercise patience. We just need to talk to them. I know that many other issues will come. And when we do that, they will praise us. And that's why I say that when we did good and they were praising us, we were happy. When we did something which they deemed to be bad and they are condemning us, painful as and justifiable as the condemnation, may be, we need to exercise patience.
Meanwhile, a former NDC member of parliament, Baba Jamal, is also disappointed.
Sami Gyamfi expressed an opinion. It may go down well with others and not everybody, but he expressed his opinion and he said it as it is. Personally, and I think that I speak for a lot of our people, we are all not very happy with what has happened in Parliament. We think that our parliamentarians could have done better. We think that the parliamentarians should have weighed or measured the temperament and the tension within the system and has maybe modified their way of handling issues. I am also disappointed in what has happened. But I still think that the parliamentarians will have to look at their strategy again and see the best way to balance doing their national work in Parliament and also assuaging the feelings and the pains of our rank and file. So Sami Gyamfi's statement is his statement, and he holds that opinion. I cannot fault him on his opinion, but I feel that if you ask my opinion, I will say it in a different way, but still we will all arrive at the fact that we are all disappointed in what has happened.
You're live on Joy News today. Now, we will take you back to Parliament a bit later because we understand the House has approved 16 more nominees to join Mr. Akufo-Addo's government.